Okay, this is the third lesson in the pre-algebra series. Hope you're enjoying the lessons. You are going to become a better math student and you're going to be better prepared for Algebra 1. Okay, what we're going to do today is combine 3 or more integers. We're going to basically 3 and 4 integers. So the first step, you're going to eliminate the double signs like you learned how to do yesterday. A positive and a negative. When you add a negative, it becomes a negative. When you subtract a negative, the opposite of a negative is a positive. Those are two real easy rules to remember. Then we're going to combine all the positive integers. Remember, your positive integers are your open squares. We're going to combine all the negative integers. Those are going to be our shaded squares. And then we're going to combine the positive and negative. When we do this, we'll subtract to get the answer. Remember, if all of the squares are the same, you're simply going to add the integers and keep the sign. Okay, so on this problem right here, we have -2 plus a -3 minus a -1. The plus minus here will turn into a minus. So I'll have -2 minus 3, and the two negatives here will become a plus, so I'll have +1. So now I have -2 minus 3 plus 1. You're now going to draw your squares, so the -2 would be 2 shaded squares, the -3 would be 3 shaded squares, and the +1 would be 1 open square. Then once you have this, you're going to add up your positives and your negatives, because you're not going to draw these all the time. You have 5 shaded squares, that's a -5, and you have 1 open square, that's a +1. Then you would go up here, eliminate your 0 pairs, and you would have 4 shaded squares left after you eliminated 1 0 pair, so your answer would be -4. Right here we have 4 integers, so we have 3 plus a -2, 2, and then minus a -4, and then -1. The positive negative here, when I add a negative, that becomes a negative, so I have 3 minus 2. The two negatives here, the opposite of a negative is a positive, so I'm going to have +4 and then -1. So the 3 will end up being 3 open squares. The -2 right here will be 2 shaded squares. The +4 right here will be 4 open squares. And the -1 right here will be 1 shaded square. Now then, what you are going to do next is you're going to group your positives and your negatives. I have 7 open squares, don't I? So these open squares and these open squares combine to 7. And then I have 2 shaded and 1 shaded. I have 3 shaded squares. Now then, when you get here, let's do it without scratching up the 0 pairs. 7 minus 3, I have more open squares, so my sign's going to be positive, and the 3 is shaded, so I won't add, I'll take away. I'll take 3 away from 7 and get 4. If you go up here and scratch out your open squares and shaded squares, and then I could scratch out 1 more, I would have 4 open squares left, wouldn't I? Okay, let's go down and let's do number 1. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the problem. So the 3 will stay the same. The minus will stay the same. Okay, the 1 will stay the same. And these two negatives will turn into a positive. The opposite of a negative is a positive. Now then, once I get here, I'm going to draw my squares. So I'm going to have 3 open squares. I kept the number small. 1 shaded square and 2 open squares, right? What I would like you to do is add all these up. So I have 5 open squares and I have 1 shaded square. 5 minus 1 is going to be our answer. If we were to scratch out our 0 pairs, I would have 4 open squares left, wouldn't I? So our answer is going to be 4. Okay, let's do number 3. I'm not going to do all these for you because I'll take all the fun away from you. I'm going to write down -1, then plus a minus, that's going to be a -3, plus a minus is a -5, isn't it? Okay. So I have 1 shaded square, I have 3 shaded squares, and then I have 5 shaded squares. See how I'm kind of just squiggle them in to shade them. You don't have to do it perfectly. Notice all of the squares are shaded, right? If everything's shaded, I'm just going to add all these up and keep the signs. So I have 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 shaded squares, don't I? So my answer is going to be -9. Have fun doing the rest. You're going to do well. If your parents need the key, let me know. I'll email it to them. And always believe